I'm going to show you 3 papayas I'm growing here. They came up in my cold compost that I make, and I think one of them I moved here and one of them I compost in place, and a few of them came up and I left one. Now these 3 trees, let me see if I can step back and show you, and please note the trunks. These 3 trees, including the one down there, were all planted the same time. They all came up exactly at the same time. I think they're just barely 3 years old. So let's say they're 2. But they came up at the same time. I decided to leave them the way they were because I really never thought they'd grow. They just came up from seed. And these are in pots. And those pots do not have a cut bottom. They just have holes. They do have big holes that they came with. Let's look over here. Now the other thing I want to make a point, this is kind of documenting this for me, so I will remember that, but this way you can share in my documentation, is note how they grew. They all have the same sun. They all have everything the same, but look at this one. Now that trunk, let me see if I can get underneath this. It's got such big leaves. Look at the size of that trunk. Okay, that trunk is huge. And these are big, and these do have a couple of papayas. The other one's throwing flowers. This one is loaded. Look at that. And that's a lettuce seed that went to seed. It came up. A lettuce from the compost came up, and it grew through into the tree there, which is fine. It's going to drop its seeds unless I collect them. Look at the papayas, and more coming. Now, here's my theory, and it's got to be this. This is an open trash can bin. The bottom is cut. It's just a trash can that's been cut. It is now buried about 2 to 3 feet into the wood chips because my husband's been pushing wood chips over here now. And see the piles he's still working on, and I take from the center and I use it for my pots. But I don't think it's the wood chips because they all have wood chips. So it's not the wood chips that's making this thing grow. It's this pot. I'm calling it a pot, but it's a trash can. See that? Now, I just filled this with wood chips. But what I've been doing is this is all celery that I just pulled out. And I'm going to compost the celery because it went to seed. It's got millions of seeds. I mean, there's celery everywhere. The horrid celery. But it's okay. You can pull it out if you don't want it. I just end up never pulling it out. I compost in place. When I'm not working on a tub or a container, and I don't know where to put my kitchen scraps. And my kitchen scraps are just really anything. Anything can go in your compost. I mean, you can even dump soda in there, canned food that, let's say you bought some canned food and passed the date and you didn't want to take a chance. Dump that in there. Old sauce. It doesn't matter because the sugars, oh my gosh, you'll bring all kinds of microbes eating that sugar. Anything can go in the compost. Well, I use this as my compost dump when I don't know where to put it. I don't have a container set up. My other bin that I have a super big bin that I can put things in, but everything's growing out of it now. The one with all the fancy squash. So I don't have any place. So I will come here, as I did the other day, move the wood chips. I don't have a shovel with me, but I'll move the wood chips. And it's buried really deep because I just piled wood chips. And I will dump my kitchen scraps in there. And then cover the wood chips over. Because sometimes I have chicken bones and things in there, I found this piece of wire and I laid it on top. Nothing bothers it. And so I've been composting in place periodically, not that often, because I usually have a place that I'm thinking of starting something, or the plants, you know, were finished. And if they're in a big container and they're finished, and I know, let's say the zucchini or the whatever squash was growing, I'll just dig it in, the dying plant, compost in place in that container or in the ground if it's in the ground, and then cover it with wood chips. And then I'm ready to plant again. Well, this has been getting my leftovers on when I don't know where to put it. And my theory is, because that's open, doesn't matter if it was open or not, it is feeding the roots of this tree. So this tree is getting more nutrients, obviously, than the other trees. See? So because it's getting more, it just took off, and it grew, I don't know, 3-4 times bigger than the other ones. And the other ones are doing good. They're beautiful. Look how green they are. And that one's got fruit just starting. And this one only threw a couple, and then it stopped, and now it's starting again. But the trunk, so it's got to be because of that. So now what I've done, we'll see if it works. I didn't have a big container. I threw this pot here, and I'm composting now in this. I started this a few weeks ago, and I cut the bottom out of that pot, and I put kitchen scraps in it, and I did have that wire basket on it, which kind of tipped over. Nothing tipped it, it just fell over. And I've been composting a little bit in that because it's a very small container. And this is when I noticed this thing started to have flowers, because this was the only one that wasn't flowering. So they do need their food, and they love their kitchen scraps. So this is a documentation for me. When I have something that's not growing, don't forget to put in those kitchen scraps. That's eggshells and everything. Eggshells and coffee grinds, and because we do make coffee every morning. I have 2 cups a day, only because I like it. And like I said, everything goes in there, and everything breaks down. Toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, shredded paper. But in this, I didn't put shredded paper because it's so small. And I purposely wanted to have kitchen scraps in this one. So this is just kitchen scraps, stuff I pulled from the garden. Parts of the vegetables I wasn't using, parts of the fruit I wasn't using. I have a bucket in my sink. In my kitchen, next to my sink. And this way, as I'm trimming and doing stuff, I just throw it into the bucket. Banana peels, I don't grow bananas. We do grow bananas, but we haven't had bananas yet, so I'm buying bananas. But I mean, banana peels go in there. I just have to watch my dogs because they like pulling the banana peels out, so I've got to get that out of the house. But everything is, great for composting. So just think about composting in place next to something that's not growing that good. And try it. You have nothing to lose. That's what I did. It really works. Well, that's it for today. And don't forget to eat. Yeah, let's go over here. Don't forget to eat what you grow.